Entrepreneurship, 4 traits and 1 truth. Let me start with a question. What really drives you? More important than any other quality, it is self-awareness that allows us to answer this question. It is self-awareness that allows us to better understand our motivations, our biases, why we succeed, and why we fail. If I had one TED wish, it would be that we, the world, could be more self-aware. Now, there are many ways to become more self-aware. You can journal, you can ask friends for feedback, but you can also become more self-aware through the power and language of a framework. And today I'm here to share an entrepreneur know thyself framework around self-awareness, and it cuts across these 4 traits. First, heart. Second, smarts, guts, and then luck. Now, before going in to defining each of those traits, let me just spend a minute explaining how we arrived at this philosophy. Over the past 3 years, my colleagues have traveled around to have conversations and interviews with hundreds of entrepreneurs. Some of you are here in the audience. With those interviews, we were able to develop a more formalized entrepreneurial aptitude test. It's sort of Meyers-Briggs of entrepreneurship, or what we call E.A.T. Now, in this test, we ask a series of trade-off questions. Is your success driven more by your brilliance or your boldness, your passion or people skills? And in each case, you see, there's no one right or wrong choice. You are forced to make a trade-off between 2 great answers. All of you can try a sample of this test at hsgl.com or in our book, Heart, Smarts, Guts, and Luck. It only takes about 5 minutes. Now, what did we find? We found, first and foremost, there is no one singular recipe for entrepreneurial success. People want a recipe. People want a connect-the-dots strategy. People want a cookbook, a playbook. But there is no one singular answer. Instead, people have a baseline across all 4 traits of heart, smarts, guts, and luck. You do need a threshold level. But what's most important, and tying it back to that concept of self-awareness, is that all of us tend to be driven by 1 or 2 dominant drivers. Now, many of you out there, especially in this audience, I'm sure are saying, no, I am dominant across all 4. I'm going to take your test. I'm going to prove you wrong. I am heart-driven. I am smarts-driven. I'm guts-driven. And I also have luck. Well, if you get that off your survey, please come see me and bring your purple unicorn with you. So which one are you? I'm going to define each and think on a relative basis to your peers, which of these traits resonates most with you? Let's begin with heart. Jiro Dreams of Sushi. Who's seen this film? An incredible movie. If you haven't and you get nothing else out of TEDU or my talk today, write down that movie, Jiro Dreams of Sushi. I'll give you that as a great recommendation. What Jiro does is he exemplifies the heart-driven entrepreneur founder. The heart-driven entrepreneur founder, and by the way, in our survey, we found that 65% of these founders were heart dominant. They have 3 underlying elements. First, purpose and passion. In the case of Jiro, a singular, unwavering commitment towards that pursuit of perfection in sushi. That calling allows for the concept of agape, what the Greeks called a sacrificial type of love. The relationship that's like a maternal instinct of an entrepreneur founder with his or her child, which is their venture. And that agape together with that purpose and passion leads to nuance. A clear distinction between entrepreneurs who are really good and those that are exceptional is the ability to express nuance. Those that have seen the movie Jiro have remembered the scenes of him massaging the octopus for 30 minutes as he preps it. The delivery of sushi at exactly body temperature. The hand toasting of seaweed, fanning over open charcoal flames. These types of entrepreneurs, these Jiros of the world, these are entrepreneurs who are the whys of the world, not the whats. And it's because they are heart-driven and they have why, we found something fairly remarkable out of our sample base, who have now we have thousands of people who have taken this entrepreneurial aptitude test, is that 70% of businesses that have had a successful exit or IPO did not start with a formal business plan. They started with that place we call heart. Now, what about smarts, though? We have an audience here that has a multiplicity of degrees, enviable GPA track records. Smarts is so much more than book IQ smarts. Of course, book IQ can help, but in and of itself, it is neither necessary nor sufficient. The type of smarts that really matters are those that can see the big picture. Those people that can look at the everyday ordinary, the snail, and find a Fibonacci in the snail. Those that can see a seemingly unrelated constellation of things and find a constellation of meaning. Smarts is ultimately about pattern recognition, contextualized intelligence. Are you smarts-driven? Now let's go to guts. Those of you who are guts-driven, you are the action-oriented. You are the doers. You're in that rare category of about 12 to 15% of our survey population that has more dones than to-dos. Now, guts is manifested in two ways: in the sprint and in the marathon. The sprint is about that moment of truth where you have the guts to initiate. Your arm gets stuck in a mountain. What are you going to do in that moment of truth? And the second way guts manifests itself is over time. Entrepreneurship is a marathon. Do you have the persistence, the resilience, the endurance to last? And ultimately, when you do, and you succeed, do you have the guts to evolve? Now, let's do that fourth quality, luck. Most of us think of luck as something that's fatalistic, a byproduct of chance. Heads or tails. A 50-50% probability of being right. That's all luck is. But luck is something much more. We have all heard the phrase, people make their own luck, people create their own luck. But what does that really mean, and how do you do it? 3 ways. 25% of those in our sample base were luck dominant. It was a very surprising finding that we had. And what they had in common were these 3 qualities more so than anything. Humility. I, by the way, was not luck dominant. Humility. This was a population, subpopulation in our sample that really understood limitations and believed that they did not know very much. That most things that they do is the result of others and a higher belief system. Luck is much more about an attitude, what we call a lucky attitude. It is much more about a viewpoint and disposition on yourself and on the relationships you have. It starts with humility. Humility allows you to have intellectual curiosity, this voracious appetite to experience what's new and novel, and also an intellectual curiosity that makes you more of a question asker than someone trying to always answer the question. And finally, optimism. This third trait is the energy that realizes the lucky attitude. And that optimism goes like this. It's when someone next tells you an idea, see if you can wait to think about every reason why it might work before allowing a single thought in your mind why it won't work. This characterizes the luck-dominant entrepreneur. Now, why care? Why care if you're heart-driven, smart-driven, guts-driven, or luck-driven? 4 reasons. Know your superpower strength versus your kryptonite. Second, your decision-making biases. By knowing your biases, you know your weakness. Third, future speed bumps. The heart-driven entrepreneur is going to have a different issue at the scale-up point than a smarts guts person, and vice versa. And last, team selection. Find a complement of folks, not people just like you. But those 4 factors pale in relation to the one truth I want to leave you with. And that one truth is this. It is that self-awareness is the foundation for everything, but it gives us the potential for what we call self-congruence. And self-congruence is when you are in that state where you are living in the truest expression of who you are. And it's when you are in that state, when you do what you say what you think, when you think what you feel. How you feel is who you are. Thank you.